What's up, y'all? My name is Karina Cook. I am a tax and financial strategist. I'm a CEO, a businesswoman, a faith-led businesswoman at that. What's up, y'all? It's your host, Karina Cook, here with Evolving Out Loud. And I want to be real with y'all. I really feel like too many of us are just trying to figure it out as we go. And although that is okay from here and there, and when you start to think about, look, we got money coming in, our clients are coming in, they're showing up, but there is no real plan. And when I tell you, when there is not a real plan, then there will be chaos. Again, when there is not a real plan, there will be chaos and confusion, and you will be left feeling no peace at all. And so, in this episode, I'm going to talk to you guys about why strategy is going to be hustle every time and time again, and the hidden cost that is associated when you do not have a strategy or a plan, okay? And how faith and structure together will give God something to multiply as you're going through creating this strategy and plan. In fact, it works hand in hand, okay? Now, what I want to talk to you guys about, it was on my mind to think like, man, there are so many people who are just going with the flow. And don't get me wrong, going with the flow, it ain't always bad. Okay. I don't want people to think that, listen, just because I'm going with the flow of things means that I'm doing something wrong. No, I'm going to stop you there in your track. It's just that if you do not have a plan in between this going with the flow, then you're losing. So I encourage you to ask yourself, where in business and in life am I just trying to figure it out? Okay? Because when you start to go through business and life with just making quick decisions and not thinking or not having a strategic plan, then that's when I'm talking about the peace and the chaos thing. But let me stop you there in the tracks before we go any further. People get too strategic and stay in too much of a planning mode, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying plan, because sometimes when there's not a balance of both, you're just literally moving like a chicken with the head cut off, or you're stagnant. And one thing we do not want to do is put you into a stagnant phase of life. And some of you guys, like myself, I've been in that stage many times before where I just over plan, or I'm like, I need this to be perfect. I'm looking for perfection. And within that perfection, it's some insecurity there that stops you in your tracks, and it holds you back from the blessings that you should be receiving by planning or by just taking action. Okay, so I wanted to give y'all that quick tidbit because I don't want anyone coming to the podcast saying, wait, listen, sis, you talking about plan, when you gonna put action? There's both, okay? There's times where you could be busy, where you could just be doing stuff, building, but it's not sustainable, okay? And like I said, I fall victim to it. I've been in that situation. In fact, I'm just getting myself out of that with faith over finance because Lord knows now, I will say that God has given me a great vision to build that up. And I am just letting Him create a pathway for me to get through. So, in this, there's a form of obedience that is happening. So, it's not just planning, right? It's me having faith and trust in God that He's going to work it out, and that I don't have to have that much faith and trust in myself because there's only so much that I can do personally to be able to get this off because He gave me the vision. I did not come up with this vision. And so I'm like, hey, okay, I got these plans. When you want me to go to work? Or what's the next direction? And so within that perfection phase, I had to get myself out of, okay, listen, you can build brick by brick. Now, what I decided to do was I'm not going to sit and wait because I know that I'm supposed to be at least having some form of a plan, right? Because I got a good enough vision to understand where this can take the organization and how many people this is going to touch. And so in that respects, that's where I plan. Okay, what's my mission? What's my vision? Who am I talking to? What is my audience? What is the problem that I would be solving with this, and what is the promise that I what is the problem of what what this organization will be solving, right? And then what is the promise of that problem that we're going to solve? And so within that area comes discipline to say, now I'm going to plan and then I'm going to work. But we're going to build this thing brick by brick. Okay. And so that is the difference. And I also found myself doing that in many different areas of my life. But when I start to realize that, y'all, He is going to show up, and He is going to bless those, He is going to bless me as I'm starting to put that work in. There's a scripture in Proverbs 21:5, and that says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who has haste comes only to poverty. And I love that, because one of the things that I've learned is that when I had this revelation, and I thought, wow, the Bible literally is a guide to life. You ever been through life and you go, or you've been through parenting, and they go, there's no manual for parenting. There is no plan for parenting. We just go with the flow and we just do things. And we go, listen, I feel that way about life, right? There's just choice, decision. Things happen. Life be life in. But when I start to look at Bible from a biblical, or looking at life from a biblical perspective, I have an owner's manual. And so when I quote these scriptures, it's to show you guys that, hey, I'm looking at things from a biblical point of view that's going to help me in life figure this out. And hopefully this can help you in life to do your own research about what stands out to you, so that you can make plans, or you can go through life with some form of assistance. And that assistance for me is God. But that allows me to say, what am I doing? Am I doing it right? Is this the way that I should go? And even when we talk about parenting, same thing, train your child as they should go, right? There is always something that you can do to help you with that. And what I want to say is, another thing I want to say is, faith and strategy can go together. Okay. In fact, again, they work hand in hand. What you to realize is, faith is not meant to replace the plan. Okay. Faith is meant to fuel it, to ignite it, to help that plan succeed. And when you think about faith, right, one of the things I want you to question is, so think about this. Have you ever had a plan or have you ever prayed or had faith for you to receive increase from God, but you really didn't know how that was going to happen? Right? It was like, I don't have a plan for how this is going to happen. I'm just asking and hoping that as I'm going through life, and as I'm going through these decisions, or these promotions, launches, business deals, teaching moments, I don't know how God is going to give it to me, but I know He will. Okay, that is one thing that I will say has been so tremendous in my walk of faith, is being able to say, look, God, I'm going to put forth effort. So being able to say, look, God, I'm going to put forth effort. I'm going to do this thing according to a plan, right? I'm going to have this, even with my business, having it structured has helped me so much be able to have some form of peace and clarity. And there's always times where I have to go revamp, or to edit, or to go back and there's times where I have to go back and adjust things, but having structure and having a plan gives me that confidence and faith that my business is going to grow, and that I feel just peace. And so even when we talk about tax strategy, there's a plan that happens, right? So what we do is we put together a plan for the clients who really need this big strategy. We'll go through a real comprehensive phase, right? Where I'm sitting with them and we're talking through things, we're talking through their lifestyle, and I'm giving them a plan. I go back, adjust the plan, according to what they've given me personally. Because what I don't want to do is make something and just decide to do something, and then this is not going to work for them because this is not even a part of their lifestyle. I'm putting a square into a hole, a circle. And so what I do is go back, I look at other things and adjust it according to them and their decision on, well, maybe we could tweak this. I don't really want to do that this year. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and tweak it. Once we get to a point where they are satisfied, then it's all about execution. And during this execution, just because the plan is delivered does not mean everything will go as planned. There are things that happen, laws change, people get sick, people's lifestyles change. Maybe they made way more money, maybe they made less money. Maybe someone in their company decided to quit, or they lost insurance. Whatever the case may be, we go back and we will have to adjust, or we would have to pivot, or we would have to hold off on things because the plan didn't go as we expected. But during this process, faith happens, right? We have work that happens. We have faith and work that happens together, which allows the plan to start to work, though, because now we can foreshadow and foresee what's actually happening in the future and how we can align ourselves with that strategically. However, without the plan, you pay more taxes, right? Without the plan, you spend more money. Without the plan, you spend more money. And that becomes a never-ending cycle that you continue to be in, you continue to find yourself in, and it's not fun. Also, it's not fun because you start to feel stressed. You start to feel overwhelmed, confused. You don't really know what tomorrow's going to look like. You don't know what a few days are going to look like. And waking up like that is not really good for your health. Okay. And that, when we look at that from a perspective of business and where you are in your business, this is why it's important to start growing a team. And I'm not saying that solopreneurs and people who have one or two employees, because, hey, you have to start somewhere, right? I am a solopreneur with a couple of contractors. Okay. And now I see the value in expanding and having more partners and contractors and expanding to employees, because without this plan where you have different plans and you do not fit in every plan. So you need people to help you execute that. And we talk about this when I say get an inner circle and get a team. So I have a team, but I don't have employees, right? But I challenge you to think about, what has it cost me to not have a plan? What has it cost me with my money? What has it cost me with my time, my relationships, and my health? And one of the things we're going to say is, for sure, all of those things are very important for you to have a lifestyle and have something to look forward to, but you can't get time back, and relationships and bridges get burnt, and money comes and goes, so that can be replaceable. But your health is also very important. So we have 3 out of the 4 things that is extremely important. So when we think about it, what has it cost me to not have a plan? Look at all those things. I encourage you to actually write that down. What have I lost already? What can I lose in the future? And what's happening in the present right now without me having a plan? Because that is going to show you on paper truly what you're missing out on. And so when we start to talk about tax strategy, that is so helpful to have a plan, because let's say, for example, you want to start investing into a foundation, or you want to start hiring your kids. Well, in order for you to hire your kids, many people think that you can just do it at the end of the year. No, this is something that you have to start early on. Why? Because you need to have transfers going back and forth from your accounts. There needs to be a written out plan, just as if you were to be hired as an employee. There needs to be a contract. There needs to be time, hours documented. There needs to be timestamps of what they did, how they worked, what did they work on, and the transfer should be coming from your account to their account. And so even further than that, though, what happens after that money gets transferred to their account? What are you actually going to do with that money? Are you going to put it in a custodial account, or are you just going to let them spend it and not let it grow? So without that plan, though, you will never know how to do that. You won't be ahead to do that. And then tax time comes, or let's say we're in January, February of the following year, you're like, why didn't I think about this? Now I cannot even implement this. It's just too late. Or even December, right? I mean, maybe you've contracted somebody to do a big job, but if you want things to work out and not be stressed, and you do not want the IRS really hounding your back about the strategy you put in place being valid and legit, then you want to work ahead of time, right? And then you want to work up to those things. You want to be able to not rush into those things. You want to have clarity along the way so that you make sure you're not missing a step, so that you make sure you're doing it correctly. And that comes with doing it with a plan, doing it with a strategic process in mind. Imagine at the end of the year, which is coming up, right? And I know, like clockwork, because I've been doing this for years, there's a time frame that we get clients come in with a rush and they're looking for a miracle. However, they're still pulling out their hair, regardless if they're saving or not. It's a stressful time. Instead of planning out how much money you're going to have ahead of time and knowing that you're going to hit this mark, should you be paying taxes, estimated taxes? Should you be making a different strategic plan? What's actually happening? And then should I be starting early, May, June, July, August, September, instead of December, so that I still protect my health, right? Because we know health is wealth, y'all. And the same is true for a business strategy, a business plan, right? A marketing plan. If you want to be a public speaker, it literally falls into every bucket. If you want to launch a new offer, all of these things come with having a strategic plan, not just it's going to hit where it lands. Now, some people feel like when you're doing something or testing it, you probably want to just try it a couple of times and just not really go through this strategic plan to just get a proof of concept, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But the moment that you realize that, oh, this is happening, this is a thing, then it's important to start structuring yourself in a way that is going to make sense for the road ahead. And really not just figure everything out as you go because you have clients coming and showing up, because something can stop that. And that means that you're vulnerable to having things just fall where they fall. And again, we're in a stage of not being just hustlers, right? Because hustle comes, hustle money, hustle this, hustle. That's the thing. But we were taught to hustle, but we were not taught to have a plan. And that's what's going to make a change with this. This is what's going to save you money, time, health, wealth, relationships. Okay. And it's also, again, what we say, it's going to put you into a alignment with God so that He can give you things while you're doing this and give you what you need in order for you to multiply what you're doing. So you have to steward it, right? And having a plan, again, does not mean it has to be perfect. It does not mean that you're moving to perfection. I want everyone to get that out their head, because I feel like that's where I got stuck is, again, we talk about the perfection thing and how it's, like, I can't launch, I can't do this because XYZ is not done. No, a plan just means that you're moving with direction. Okay. And again, back to the tax planning thing. We're moving with direction. We're just putting something in front of us so that we can have something to look forward to, and we're putting in work in instead of getting hit at the last minute. And when you do that, God is going to be able to bless what you have done. He's going to be able to multiply what you have done because you put the time in to do an extra step that not everyone is doing. So listen, I want you to know I've been there. I've been busy all the time. I've been doing the work, and I thinking of just making more money. Everything would just fall in place, right? But the truth is that without a plan, you end up going into circles that never stops. And what I've learned during this time is to have faith, and that faith and strategy really go hand in hand. You need faith to believe. You also need structure to actually live that faith out. Okay. And again, God cannot bless confusion. And when we bring up Proverbs 21:5, and it says the plans of the diligent surely leads to abundance, but everything else was hasty comes to poverty. Listen, when I tell you that, that hit me because I realized that I wasn't being diligent with what I had. I didn't plan with what I had, and I was just reacting. And so, my words of encouragement to you is just to stop trying to figure it out as you go, to sit down, write it out, get clear on what you're building. Okay? Write the vision and make it a plan, y'all. Because a plan, again, does not need to be perfect, it does not need to be led to perfection, but it needs to give God something to multiply. So, I have a challenge for you. I want to challenge you guys to write down one step you can take this week to be more strategic and stop just moving and build you out a plan. Now, you guys know I need you to like and subscribe to this channel. Let us know what your plans are and what you're going to do moving forward so that you can be productive. You can build what God is multiplying for you. And until then, we are evolving and we are evolving out loud. I'll see y'all soon. Exciting to say the least, and I'm happy that I'm doing it with you guys. Until next time, I love y'all and welcome to Evolving Out Loud.